So hi again, everybody. Pras Chatterjee from SAP. Let's move to the next slide. So the quote I picked was from the great American author and humorist, Mark Twain. The secret of getting ahead is really getting started. And this really, the reason I chose this was because I think this crisis of COVID and everything here, of us moving from an FP&A department or FP&A function to adding the intelligence means that it's something that we need to be able to start right now. And from the examples Rodolphe gave and Matt gave as well, it shows that it's not the art of the impossible, but something that truly is possible. So let's move to the next slide. Earlier this year, many of you participated in the latest FP&A 2020 survey as a follow-up from the 2019 one. And there's some highlights that came out. I think in today's survey, Larissa, it was 7% of organizations or so that said that they take less than one day to create a forecast. In the survey, we found that it was actually 5% of organizations, which is really too bad because this COVID crisis and everything around it showed that in the discussions I've had with FP&A departments, they've been under a lot of pressure. As Matt pointed out, things like, do they exhaust credit lines? Do they furlough employees? Do they pursue different avenues of growth, cut avenues of growth? And all these scenarios and situations can't be seen in isolation. They have to be seen together and collectively because there's an impact on everything and everything. And best-in-class organizations are, they don't go back to the business constituents or the C-level executives who ask for this information, and they don't say, we'll get back to you. They provide this guidance immediately and effectively. The other thing we found was that 52% of organizations are planning to leverage AI and machine learning in the next 6 months or so. But the scary part is that many organizations, about 48%, have no desire to implement these tools, which again helps us not to be intelligent. And finally, from the survey, one of the things that came out very shocking to me was 61% of organizations felt, respondents felt that FP&A was just not considered strategic or difficult to justify with technology. And I hope that many of you are on this call, many of you 61%, because you'll be able to see things like, as Rodolphe mentioned, using technology and all the different pillars of his equation, and how Matt mentioned about having a common platform to bring finance to be much more intelligent effectively. So let's move over to the next slide. So from a technology standpoint, there's a few key things I want to address. Number one being predictive planning. As Rodolphe mentioned, having great data, and as I mentioned when I commented on Rodolphe's piece, having great data gives you great possibilities, especially letting machine learning and AI engage with your FP&A process. These tools are no longer a pipe dream. They're available to finance and FP&A in a very easy and deployable manner, and they're quite cost-effective now as well. And the one thing I would say is, instead of thinking of these as tools and functions, think of predictive scenarios and machine learning and AI as a teammate, as a fellow finance individual that can help provide insights that might not be readily available to you. We know how busy the finance function and you guys are in bringing information together, but this extra assistance, and in some cases, these better insights might just not be readily available. More importantly, that hurricane that Matt mentioned, it needs to be addressed. The expectation on FP&A is not to state the obvious, but to bring everything together and provide direction on where things are going and really where they should go. Next slide, please. I started talking earlier about how Mark Twain said it's about getting ahead, and really analytics can help provide that. I know all of us in FP&A, we love and thrive and live in Microsoft Excel. And we love sharing Excel. We love sharing the complexities of VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, the pride of our problem statements and such. But in this world, especially now, we've got to start thinking about moving beyond Excel. In my case, for example, and I'm sure all of you relate to this, if I want my latest banking information, I don't go to my banking app, download a CSV file, put it into a pivot table, and perform trend analysis. I expect my banking app to provide that for me in a graphically, visual, and consumable manner. And that's what our audience expects from us as well. It's what it helps them become much more trusting of us, one of the pillars of the equation that Rodolphe mentioned. And it also helps us communicate more effectively as well. And the more we communicate, the more insights we can give and the better action we can provide. Someone once told me that, non-best-in-class organizations, especially for planning, they're sitting at the back of the boat, staring behind the enterprise that's moving forward. And they're effectively reporting on what happened last month, last week, or stating again, as I mentioned, the obvious. But the best-in-class FP&A departments, they sit at the front of the boat using modern tools like analytics and such. They're able to give guidance immediately and effectively in terms of not just what happened, but what's about to happen, and really helping those insights that they have as part of their arsenal to bring better action and being a true business partner. Next slide, please. So aligning plans with technology, that's really where it comes into being truly being important, and where FP&A can provide leverage modern technology to be a better business partner and really help drive intelligent finance. The key thing is that, as Rodolphe mentioned, as Matt mentioned, having common platforms. All of you in different organizations might have different tools for ERP, for supply chain and HR, or you might have a common platform for all this. But having all this integrated with modern FP&A is absolutely key. So you're able to gain insights. And more importantly, you're able to have strategic planning across all departments embedded into your core finance one. We all know everybody plans now. It's not just us in FP&A. Marketing plans on budgets, sales plans on sales plans. Operations and demand, create their plans based on the sales plans they've received. And marketing, as I mentioned, might create their marketing plans based on the sales targets and such. All of these plans are happening effectively everywhere and all the time. And having connected plans in this manner through a collaborative enterprise planning process really helps finance see the overall big picture and really respond to the moment to market disruptions. For example, like the crisis we have seen. The change in oil prices or commodity prices, and through all this, help make faster and more confident decisions. So I think the question, Larissa, you mentioned was someone was asking me what the role of technology is in this. Modern planning tools have the ability to integrate directly into your plan, your ERP and all your backend systems. They have the ability to provide real-time insights, and more importantly than that, they have analytics built in that helps you communicate effectively and be that much better of a storyteller. So again, it's moving from the financial planning to truly the analysis piece. Next slide, please. So I want to take some time to address the FP&A and analytics maturity model that Larissa and team have developed over the last while. And all of you, if you look at this slide, know that you reside somewhere between basic, developing, defined, advanced, or leading. Some of us are, in the leading state phase. Some of us are in the intermediate. Some of us in developing. But we all strive to be in that leading state phase where we've got integrated planning processes, where we've got real-time collaborative planning. We're not delayed anymore. When people ask us questions, we're not saying we'll get back to you. Rather, proactively, we're going back to our business constituents with guidance. And we've got that digital on-demand planning with AI and machine learning. And finally, we're able to be a leading FP&A business partner.